Thank you, Sakshi Ganga Prabhu and family, for that wonderful kirtan and also the beautiful darshan of your deities, Gaurnata and Sri Jagannath Baldevan Sudharmai. Wonderful. So we are celebrating the appearance of Lord Nrsimha. Krishna says in the Gita, Ye etamam prapatente tam sataiva bhajamiham. So due to the degree of your surrender, I will reciprocate. So we all know Prahlad Maharaj was a wonderful devotee of the Lord, and Krishna, to prove his words, appeared in the pillar as Nrsimha. So the next part of the program is going to be a special class by Her Grace Mahasundari Mataji. She's going to be talking about the pastimes of Lord Nrsimha. Haribol Mataji, please go ahead.
Hi, Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So before we start the class, I'm actually just going to mute everybody. And so then that way as guests start joining, they will be muted. And if you have any questions or comments, if you have time towards the end, you can unmute yourself. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Jay, are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak on this most auspicious occasion of Nrsimha Caturdasi. This day is a very, very important day in our Vaishnava calendar for many reasons. So I'm very grateful to be given the opportunity. And with the blessings of senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis on this call, I hope to share some things that I have heard from other senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis in the past and share some of that here with everyone. So please bless me that I can share something that is of value and that is accurate and the proper representation of what our Parampara teaches. If I make any mistakes in my presentation, please forgive me. Today, we will actually talk about something slightly different. Instead of focusing on just pastimes of Nrsimha, we will talk about some of the various deities of Nrsimha that are found in different temples. We'll talk a little bit about the relationship between Nrsimha and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll talk about Nrsimha and Srila Prabhupada, and we'll talk about some of Nrsimha's 21st century pastimes. Before we start, we can all chant the Mangala Charan prayers together. We will be doing, after Mangala Charan prayers, we have some prayers that are specific for Nrsimha, and we will chant them as we see. So you can chant with me. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Stajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyo Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Nrsimhaya Namaste Tejase Avir Bhava Vajra Nakha Vajra Damstra Karma Shayan Randhaya Tamo Grasa Om Swaha Abhayam Atmani Bhuyishta Om Shaum Swasti Astu Vishwasya Kala Prasidatam Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mithodhiya Manascha Badram Bhajata Dadokshaje Aveshatam No Matirapi Ahaituki Satyam Vidatum Nijabhritya Bhashitam Vyaptim Cha Bhuteshva Akileshva Chatmana Adrishyaya Yadbhuta Rupam Utvan Tambe Sabhayam Namragim Namanasham Ugram Veeram Mahavishnum Jwalanto Sarvato Mukham Nrsimha Bhishanam Badram Mrityum Namamyaham. Jai Nrsimha, Shri Nrsimha, Jai Nrsimha Dev, Praladesha, Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma, Bringa. Hare Krishna. I wanted to call attention to some of these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam that we recited. This verse here in Canto 7, Chapter 8, 17 is a very beautiful verse which starts with Satyam Vidhatum Nijavritya Bhashitam. This verse basically says that, in order to make sure the words of Prahlad Maharaj say true, Nrsimhadev erupts from that pillar. So this is a verse that describes how Nrsimhadev is appearing when he comes out of the pillar. And the last line, Sambe Sabhayam Namrigam Namanusham. So from the pillar he emerges in the assembly of all people, and he is neither animal nor human. Beautiful, beautiful verse. And these previous two verses, 5.18.8 and 5.18.9, are very beautiful. They're actually Prahlad Maharaj speaking. This comes in Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto. And in the first verse, Prahlad Maharaj is glorifying the beauty of Nrsimhadev. He's describing how effulgent Nrsimhadev is, how powerful his nails are, and he's going into detailed descriptions. And in the second verse, Svasti Astu Vishwasya Kalaha, Prahlad Maharaj is now praying for good fortune to be spread throughout the world. He's praying for devotion to be there for every single person, and he's praying that everyone in this world practices Bhakti Yoga. So this is a very beautiful two verses that show the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. One part of the mood is his unwavering devotion for Nrsimhadev, and the second verse talks about how compassionate Prahlad Maharaj was to this world. We don't have the verse here, but there's another beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam when Nrsimhadev tells Prahlad Maharaj, okay, we can go back to Godhead, let's go. And Prahlad Maharaj says, no, I want to stay here. I want to help all these people. I want to make sure that everybody here goes back to Godhead. It's a beautiful verse that comes in the 7th canto. So you get to see Prahlad Maharaj's two qualities that we can try to imbibe. One is our unwavering faith and devotion in the Supreme Lord. And second is our compassion for the world. So with that, Jai. We already talked about what we're going to talk about today. I wanted to start off by expressing gratitude to a few people, starting with His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, just as we spoke about yesterday when we talked about introduction of Jagannath into the Western world, Srila Prabhupada also introduced Nrsimhadev to the Western world, deity that was predominantly worshipped in India only, and more so in southern India for a great part of it. Srila Prabhupada introduced it to the world. I also want to take a moment to express my gratitude to His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. When I was younger, I would hear whenever Nrsimha Chaturdashi would come. Once, I believe Jayapataka Maharaj was in Dubai or around that time, and he gave such an amazing class. It stayed in memories for years. Maharaj would give such dramatic presentations. When he talks like Nrsimha, his voice would just become like a lion. So I wanted to share my gratitude towards him. Towards the end of the class, if we have time today, I will be sharing some pastimes, which are modern day pastimes of Nrsimhadev. And this actually I found on Mother Urmila's website. Mother Urmila is a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I will not speak much about her because she's giving our Sunday class on May 24th. So we'll get to hear more about her, but it's beautiful, beautiful pastimes. After this class, I will share the link as well on the chat. I wanted to take a moment to thank my parents for two reasons. One was, as a child, one of our samskaras is the head shaving thing. We grew up being born in Andhra Pradesh. Nrsimhadev is a part of your lifestyle. There's no Telugu person who probably did not know who Nrsimhadev is. You'll definitely have at least one relative with the name Nrsimha. It is very popular in that as a child. So we grew up worshipping Nrsimhadev as a kid. So all my head shaving ceremonies happened at various Nrsimhadev temples. So I remember that, my association with Nrsimhadev. And every time we go to India for vacation, my parents would always take me to Nrsimhadev temples. So I feel a lot of attachment from my young age to Nrsimhadev, and it continues to today. And I really want to express gratitude to my parents. I also want to express a special gratitude to my father because in 2018, my parents were here for Nrsimha Chaturdashi. And my father was supposed to give class for Nrsimha Chaturdashi, but it had to get rescheduled because of some reason. So he actually prepared an entire class that he didn't get to give. When I shared with him that I'm giving class today, he sent me his class. So I took the liberty of modifying his class a little bit, but a lot of the content, particularly about the temples, is from his class. I'm really grateful that he sent his class to me. And finally, we'll be just talking a little bit about the form of Nrsimhadev. This I want to express gratitude. One of my mentors, Satyamama Devi Dasi, who's based in Toronto, she gave a wonderful class on Tuesday, day before yesterday, on the form of Nrsimhadev. And I was very inspired by the points she mentioned in her class that wanted to talk a little bit about that today. With that, we shall get into our discussion today. Before we actually talk about the deity form of Nrsimhadev, two things I wanted to discuss. One is, why is it important for us to meditate on the pastime of Nrsimhadev? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 4th chapter, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. And in this, Krishna is telling Arjuna in the 4th chapter, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Similarly, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described that anybody who attentively hears this pastime of Nrsimhadev coming out of the pillar to protect Prahlad Maharaj is guaranteed to get spiritual, guaranteed to go to the spiritual abode, guaranteed that their bhakti will arise. So it is very important for us to take time, not only on these Vaishnava festivals, but whenever we have an opportunity to actually hear about the pastimes of the Lord, because there is a lot of potency in hearing these pastimes of the Lord. So, very, very quickly, to the interest of time, to say the story of Nrsimhadev very shortly, there was this king called Hiranyakashipu, who's a very very demoniac king, and he wanted to become immortal. He goes and prays to Brahma, saying that he does meditation for many years, and he prays to Lord Brahma that I want to become immortal. Brahma laughs and tells him, well, I'm not immortal, so there's no way you can be immortal. At that point, Hiranyakashipu starts saying, okay, then if I cannot be immortal, I want you to grant me a boon that I die neither in air or water or ground. I do not die in daytime or nighttime. I will not be killed by an animal or a human being. I will not be killed by a weapon. I will not be killed inside the house, outside the house, etc., etc. He sets all these guidelines, and Brahma gives him the boon. In the meantime, while this is going on, his wife Kayadu is pregnant, and she's in the ashram of Narada Muni. And Narada Muni, as she's in his ashram and she's serving him, he imparts to her a lot of spiritual knowledge. And in her womb is this beautiful baby boy, Prahlad, who listens to all of this instruction that Narada Muni is giving him. Once Hiranyakashipu comes back from his meditation, he takes Kayadu and Prahlad back to the kingdom. Prahlad is very dear to Hiranyakashipu. He's his son, youngest son. He loves him dearly. But Prahlad is not like Hiranyakashipu. Even though born in a demoniac family, Prahlad is a pure devotee of the Lord. And he's a big rebel. Whatever his father says, he says, no, you're saying is wrong. What the truth is, the Lord is supreme. You're not the Lord. Lord Krishna is the supreme. Lord Vishnu is the supreme. Hiranyakashipu tortures his son extensively. Even though he loves him so much, he punishes him, he puts him in jail, he tries to burn him, he tries to push him off a cliff. None of that worked. In the end, he calls Prahlad to his palace, to his office, kingdom room, throne room. And he says, where is your Lord? You keep talking about him. Where is his Lord? He says, is his Lord in the pillar? And Prahlad says, yes. And at that point, when he takes his club and smashes the pillar, Nrsimhadev erupts. And then he destroys Hiranyakashipu. So today, what we're going to talk about, a few things. We're going to talk about how do we recognize Nrsimhadev? We have this, there's this really nice story Radhika Raman Prabhu shared of Hanuman Prekshaka Swami. Hanuman Prekshak Maharaj once asked his disciples, how many chapters are there in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam? And people didn't know. They were like looking at each other. Then he's like, how many verses are there in the first canto? Or how many verses are there in the first chapter? Nobody knew. And he kept asking a few questions and there was no answers. Then Hanuman Prekshak Maharaj said, if Krishna walked in front of you, you wouldn't be able to recognize him. So I thought that was a very powerful thing, that very often we think if God came, I can recognize Krishna, why not? But sometimes we forget how Krishna is like. And in our Shastra, there's such a beautiful description given of Nrsimhadev. One of the qualities of Nrsimhadev that we see is Nrsimhadev carries with him a lot of things. As you can see in the deity on the left, which I think is Indradumna Swami's deity, you can see very beautiful description of various things Lord Nrsimhadev carries. And each of these weapons Nrsimhadev carries has a very special significance for our own spiritual life. So you can see that there is a conch shell. The conch shell represents vibrations that cause fear in demons. We can see the club, which is basically meant for destruction of demons, not only external demons, but also internal demons that arise in our heart, like arrogance, conceit, envy. The shield is to protect the devotees from the 6 faults we heard about in Nectar of Instruction, Atyahara, etc. The chakra, which Nrsimhadev carries, is to cut illusion to pieces. The lotus is a form of blessing and to create auspiciousness. The sword is to cut the roots of the sin. But the most beautiful weapon Nrsimhadev has, it's the weapon that he used for 2 principal purposes, are his hands. One thing with his hands he did with his nails, he just pulled out the guts of Hiranyakashipu and he killed him. And the second thing he did with his hands, he blessed Prahlad Maharaj. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that when the demigods were so afraid after Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu, he was like so angry. The demigods were afraid to go to Nrsimhadev, so they were like nudging each other. Okay, you go, Lakshmi Devi, you should go, Brahma, you should go, Lord Shiva, you should go. And they all were scared to go. And then, they said, Prahlad, you should go. And when Prahlad Maharaj approaches Nrsimhadev, the first thing Nrsimhadev does is he blesses him with his hand. And Srimad Bhagavatam says that this blessing took away all fears. So with the same hands, Nrsimhadev destroys all evil and protects us. Nrsimhadev is the perfect representation of the verse in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavam yuke. Nrsimhadev comes here just solely for destroying a demon like Hiranyakashipu and for protecting his devotee Prahlad Maharaj. So whenever we see the hand of Nrsimhadev, we should remember that this is blessings for us to become pure devotees, for us to be fearless in our path of devotion. So this understanding of Nrsimhadev's form helps us appreciate when we see Nrsimhadev form in deities. So we're all sitting at our respective homes, whether it's in Round Rock, Cedar Park, Austin, Leander. If you're watching this from some other part of the world, wherever you're sitting, whether you're sitting in your living room, your kitchen, your study, a bedroom, wherever, we all know one thing that we all share in common is we can't travel anymore for some time at least. So we thought we'll do a quick, detour. We'll save a lot of money, but we'll visit some temples today in India, the temples that are very significant for Nrsimhadev. So we'll start off our journey here in Nrsimhaji Temple in Rajasthan. Nrsimhaji Temple, Rajasthan has a very interesting story here. People who suffer from black magic and spells, they go to this temple, and it is said that Nrsimhadev here awards punishments to those ghosts and spirits and helps people who are dealing with this issue, helps them become better. The next temple we will visit today is the deity on the left, which is Melkote in Karnataka, where there is Yoga Nrsimha. I was just hearing His Holiness Radhanath Swami's class just less than an hour ago, and His Holiness Radhanath Swami was also speaking about this beautiful, beautiful temple in Karnataka. If once the COVID crisis ends, if any of you are going to Karnataka, I highly, highly recommend visiting Melkote. It's not very far from Bangalore. Beautiful temple. This temple is very important because this deity was installed by Prahlad Maharaj himself. That makes this very powerful. Sri Ramanujacharya spent a lot of time in this temple, which is also a very important site for Vaishnava, Sri Vaishnavas particularly. In this temple, there is also very strong hold for Shastric studies. They have a very nice Sanskrit school there. But the potency here is of Yoga Nrsimha. This is a personal deity established by Prahlad Maharaj. So we get to see what Prahlad Maharaj's compassion was, that he wanted to establish a deity of Nrsimhadev, not just for his benefit, but for the benefit of the world and generations of people who will get to see Nrsimhadev. So it's a beautiful, beautiful deity. And the deity in the middle is from a Nrsimha temple, which is in Gundicha temple, actually. So this temple is facing west, and it's on the complex of the Gundicha temple. The unique thing about this Nrsimhadev deity is there are 2 sides to this Nrsimhadev deity. I had a very hard time finding a picture of this deity online, so I don't know which side this deity is. I think this is Ugra Nrsimha side of the deity, but I'm not very sure. But this deity has 2 sides. The front image of this deity is Shanta Nrsimha, which is Nrsimhadev in peace. And on the other side of the deity, it is Ugra Nrsimha, which is anger. So this depicts both the external and the internal mood of Nrsimhadev, where there's peace and there's anger as well. In the Skanda Puran, there is a very beautiful story about this temple, about King Indradyumna had stayed had wanted to perform a Ashwamedha Yagya. He was around this temple area, and he had, on the advice of sage Narada, King Indudumna made this image of Nrsimha come appear from a black stone and worshipped that deity, which is the same deity. And because the Ashwamedha Yagya took place in front of this deity is also called Yagya Nrsimha. So the Ashwamedha Yagya by King Indudumna took place in front of this deity. This deity is there at the Gundicha temple. So next time when you make your trip to Jagannath Puri, please make sure to take darshan of this very beautiful Yagya Nrsimha, Shanta Nrsimha Devi. We spoke about how we want to talk about how we talk Mahaprabhu in the 21st century, but we have to lead up to the 21st century. So far, we spoke about deities that existed much earlier from Prahlad Maharaja's time, King Indudumna Maharaja's Satyayuga's time. So now we are coming a little bit more closer to us and we are talking about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu related to Nrsimhadev. There are two principal pastimes that are described in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat about Nrsimhadev and Mahaprabhu. One pastime is described in Chaitanya Mangala and also in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shivas Pandit was performing Shraddh ceremony for his father and he was reciting the Vishnu Sahasranam at that time, as it is customary. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these names of Nrsimhadev, which come as a part of the Vishnu Sahasranam, he became so absorbed in his thought. His eyes became red, his hair stood on the end, and all parts of his body started trembling. You know, he's making this thundering sound. He took up a club and he started like running down the street because he was saying that, you know, that I am here to punish you. Like he became like Nrsimhadev. And then later people were so afraid of him because they were thinking, what offenses have we committed now here that Mahaprabhu is reacting like this? When Mahaprabhu saw that the people there were getting a little afraid of what thoughts he adjusted his feelings and he sat down on a seat and he kind of came down. So Mahaprabhu was relishing this pastime of Nrsimhadev so much that he was completely absorbed and he, you know, imbibed the mood of Nrsimhadev. The other significant description in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela comes about various temples Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited when he had gone on his South Indian yatra after he took his sannyas. So a lot of the temples that Mahaprabhu visited were in Andhra Pradesh, in Nrsimhadev temples. Before we move further, I have to, because we have a lot of folks from that region on this call, the locations are completely approximate. I have no idea where these places are with respect to each other. So I just took a best guess. Please let me know after this call if I was way off. I'm assuming this is where these temples are. In Andhra Pradesh, there are 108 Nrsimhadev temples. And many of these have deities that self-manifested or were manifested in Satya Yuga and have been worshipped for yugas and yugas after that. A few years back, and I don't know if Vaman Prabhu also went on this yatra, but a few years back, my parents took a bunch of devotees and they did yatra of a lot of these temples in Andhra Pradesh, and the very, very beautiful Nrsimhadev temples. And each temple has its own story, and we could do hours and hours class on that. But today we wanted to focus on 3 temples that were visited personally by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and talk about the background of them.
Mama, move. Everybody can see you.
So I looked at somebody.
I'm just going to turn the video off.
Yeah, I don't want to. Okay. So we'll talk about 3 different temples today from Andhra Pradesh, where we have 3 different forms of Nrsimhadev and their significance. So we'll start with the deity on the right, which is Simhachalam, where there is Varaha Nrsimhadev. This deity is very unique because for multiple reasons. One is that this is a deity where Varahadev and Nrsimhadev are together in a single deity. This deity is covered with tons and tons of sandalwood because this deity is supposed to have manifested exactly right after Hiranyakashipu was killed. After Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu, his whole anger was manifest in this deity. So this deity is covered with sandalwood for all year, except one day in the year where for 12 hours a day, people can get darshan of this deity. Another pastime that the Sthala Purana of Simhachalam, which is the literature that describes the glory of this place, describes is how when Prahlad Maharaj was, as we talked about the heinous acts Hiranyakashipu performed to kill and abuse his son, because the son was refusing to accept Hiranyakashipu as God. One of the things Prahlad Maharaj did was to one of the things Hiranyakashipu did to Prahlad Maharaj was he pushed him off a cliff, to kill him. And the pastime is very famous that Prahlad Maharaj was continuing to pray to the Lord even after he pushed off the cliff. But according to the Sthala Purana, it is described that Lord Narayana rescued Prahlad Maharaj by jumping over the hill, and he lifted him up to make sure that Prahlad Maharaj was safe. And it is said that Simhachalam is also the place where the Lord rescued Prahlad Maharaj. In the same place, in the same hill is where Prahlad Maharaj was pushed off the cliff, and Nrsimha rescued him. It is said that this deity was manifested by the request of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj wanted to see Varahadev and Nrsimha together. The significance of Varahadev, as we all know, is he's the incarnation that came right before Nrsimha and Varahadev killed Hiranyaksha, who was the brother of Hiranyakashipu. So Prahlad Maharaj did not see Varahadev, so he wanted to get that special darshan of Varahadev. It is also described in the Sthala Purana that after the death of Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad Maharaj built a temple around this deity. But at the end of Satya Yuga, there was an anthill that gathered over this deity. So this deity was hidden for people to see. But at the beginning of another Yuga, this deity was discovered, and since then has been worshipped by many, many followers. Many followers. A lot of pilgrims go to this very beautiful temple in Simhachalam. The next deity that we'll talk about is the deity that is to your left, which is Mangalagiri in Mangalgiri. And this is Panakala Nrsimha. Very beautiful pastime about this deity. There was a demon called Namuchi, who had obtained a boon from Brahma, boon very similar to Hiranyakashipu, not as comprehensive, but pretty close. He had a boon that he would not be killed by anything that is either wet or dry. So he began to harass, and as usual, Brahma grants him the boon, and when a demon gets the boons, the first thing they do is start harassing the demigods. So here he starts harassing Indradev and the various demigods. Indradev, what he plans to do is he takes the Sudarshan Chakra, the disc of Lord Vishnu, and he dips it into the foam of the ocean. So not the ocean, but the actual foam, which is neither dry nor wet. He dips it into that, and they use that weapon to kill this demon. And then what happens is the Lord manifests in this anger state to kill this demon here. And at this point, even though escaped from Sudarshan Chakra, and the Lord was so angry at this demon for harassing the demigods. The demigods again did not know how to pacify this deity. So then what they did is that they gave him nectar. They gave the Lord of Amrita nectar, and the Lord cooled down. This happened in Satya Yuga. So the Lord was very satisfied with them getting nectar. And then he instructed that, in the Treta Yuga, if he is offered ghee, he will be satisfied. In Dwapar Yuga, if he's offered milk, he is satisfied. And in Kali Yuga, if he's offered panakam or jaggery water, he is satisfied. He's pacified with that. So traditionally, in a lot of temples on Nrsimha Caturdasi, they offer this drink made out of jaggery and water and a few other spices. It's called panakam. And this is offered in all Nrsimha temples. Actually, around the world, they offer panakam to Nrsimha, and that is the pastime of this very beautiful Panakala Lakshmi Nrsimha that we see in Mangalgiri. The last stories we'll share is of the deity in Ahobilam. Ahobilam has 9 principal temples of Nrsimha. Here there's a picture of just one. We only have the Lakshmi Nrsimha temple from Ahobilam. Ahobilam is traditionally regarded as the place where actually the pastime took place of Nrsimha killing Hiranyakashipu to save Prahlad Maharaj. So in Ahobilam, it's in a forest area. There is lower Ahobilam, but there are some temples, and there is upper Ahobilam where you have to climb through forests and gorges and steep valleys to actually get there to see the various very powerful Nrsimha temples there. There is a place called Ugrastamba, the exact pillar that Nrsimha broke out from. That pillar exists there. You can see pieces of this magnormous, humongous pillar that Nrsimha came out from. There are remains of where Prahlad Maharaj had his school, where he would where he would instruct his classmates. So there are scenes of that too. There is a place there where it is called Raktakund, where after killing Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad Maharaj washes his hands off It is said that even today you can see like red stains around it, but the water, the kunda, is very clear and very, very sweet tasting water that you find there. There are, as we mentioned, around these hills in Ahobilam, Nrsimha appears in 9 different forms. He appears as Yoga Nrsimha, Shanta, Jwala Nrsimha. Various forms of Nrsimha are found in Ahobilam. This is a very beautiful place to visit. I have personally not been fortunate enough to visit there. I know Vaman Hari Prabhu has been to Ahobilam. I'm pretty sure he has. Prabhu, please unmute yourself. You've been to Ahobilam, right?
Yes, Mataji, we have been there.
That's what I thought. So if devotees want to know more about this place, please ask Vaman Hari Prabhu and Mataji. Beautiful, beautiful temples. Highly encourage you all, again, when we are able to travel, to please make a trip here to visit these 3 and some beautiful temples of Nrsimha that are there. There is also a very nice documentary that was produced in the 90s by this devotee called Dhruva Maharaj about these various temples in Ahobilam. It is on YouTube, so you can search for Dhruva Nrsimha Yatra or something like that. You'll find a video. Beautiful, beautiful video. Jai. So in the next 8 to 10 minutes, we'll now start moving closer and closer. Right? We went from Satya Yuga to Kali Yuga with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now we're coming into the last 50, 60 years of how Prabhupada talked about Nrsimha worship. So Prabhupada had shared very early on this pastime of Nrsimha killing Hiranyakashipu and protecting Prahlad Maharaj with his disciples. And he told them, he had given them the 2 mantras, which we sing every day, Namaste Nrsimhaya, and also the one line from Jayadeva Goswami's Dashavatara Stotra, Tavakara Kamalavare. He gave these to his disciples and he shared with them that these are prayers for the protection of Guru and for the protection of Guru's mission. Prabhupada asked his early disciples and continued to pass on this to his disciples to chant these mantras for Guru's protection and protection of the mission, particularly as that mission started expanding and going all around the world. So these are prayers that devotees, ever since Srila Prabhupada gave this to them, continue to chant. It doesn't matter where you are, which ISKCON temple you go to, you know that after a Sunday program, there is going to be Nrsimha prayers. You know that after Mangalarati is done, there is going to be Nrsimha prayers. And whenever there are any moments in our life where we feel afraid, where we feel like we're not in control of the situation, we don't know what to do, we all tend to chant Nrsimha prayers. However big or however small the situation is. On a lighter note, I remember my friends made me go bungee jumping once, and I was completely bullied into peer pressure doing this, and I really don't like heights. And I wasn't very much into Krishna consciousness, but honestly, the first prayer that came out of my mouth was Nrsimha prayers as I was plunging down from the bungee jumping experience. Not fun, but at least it got me to think about Nrsimha and Prahlad Maharaj. But these are very beautiful prayers, and Prabhupada wanted us to chant them every day. But what happens when we chant Nrsimha prayers every day is we kind of it loses the meaning of what it is. So we have to remind ourselves again and again the significance of these prayers, significance of Nrsimha, the 2 aspects of Nrsimha. He's here to kill the demons. Excuse me. Excuse me. He's here to kill the demon like Hiranyakashipu, but he's also here to protect our spiritual faith. So we should keep chanting Nrsimha prayers in that way. We're going to wrap up our we're not wrapping up our journey fully, but we're wrapping up 3/4 of our spiritual yatra with the most auspicious dham of Mayapur to talk about 2 beautiful temples in Mayapur that many devotees here I know have visited, both of them. The deity on the left that you can see on my left, your right, however it works, is in Nrsimhapalli. Lord Nrsimha, after we spoke about how he killed Hiranyakashipu, he washed his hands, then he came all the way to take rest and after he washed the blood out, he took here to take rest from his father. So here he continued to wash his hands here also. It is described that there is a lake left behind by the Mandakini river that flowed here back then. When Lord Nrsimha arrived, he drank the sweet water of the river to refresh himself and also washed the blood of Hiranyakashipu from his hands. Knowing that Lord Nrsimha had come here and was taking rest, all the demigods also came here to worship him, and they had constructed palaces and worshipped him with great opulence. And then eventually this happened obviously in Satya Yuga many millennia ago, and a lot of that got covered. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in this planet, he appeared here and he and his associates would come here regularly to discuss the pastimes of Nrsimha and perform Harinam Sankirtan right there in this beautiful temple of Nrsimha that is in Navadvip. The next deity that you're seeing here is the deity that we're all extremely familiar with. This is the most beautiful deity of Nrsimha from our very own temple in ISKCON Mayapur. There is beautiful pastimes of how this deity appeared. I will try my best to condense and share the significance of this because it is very, very powerful. In 1984, dacoits attacked the Mayapur temple. For a long time, dacoits were attacking Mayapur temple. They were coming there to steal and rob things. But this 1984 attack was pretty bad. They took Srimati Radharani right from the altar. They had also taken Srila Prabhupada, but devotees were able to save Prabhupada, but they couldn't save Srimati Radharani. So they consulted with other senior devotees on what they needed to do, and the recommendation came that we should get Nrsimha. So devotees then started trying to figure out what kind of Nrsimha they needed, and they realized because they needed Nrsimha that will protect them, getting a Yoga Nrsimha or a Shanta Nrsimha is not going to be sufficient. Like they needed Ugra Nrsimha. They needed Nrsimha in his full anger to protect and to like vanquish all the demons that if any demons were to come to the temple to attack them. So they drew up this drawing of like, you know, how they wanted visualize Nrsimha, and then the journey started in figuring out who could carve this Nrsimha deity. So a lot of the pastimes I'm sharing are taken from one of Mayapur's website, and I believe the pastime shared by Atman Tattva Prabhu from his diaries. And this is him speaking these pastimes. So they were trying to figure out who they can sculpt this deity of Nrsimha, and they found this sculptor in southern India who, you know, who was very renowned, very like comes from a traditional line of sculptors of deities. So it's not just any sculptor, very bona fide, you know, from a very proper parampara of sculptors. So they go to the sculptor and then they show him this picture, and the sculptor is like, no way am I going to design Nrsimha. Are you crazy? Like, you not only want Nrsimha, you want Ugra Nrsimha. Like, you don't know, villages get burnt and they get destroyed. Like, you can't worship Ugra Nrsimha. Like, he was very clear about it. They went back, and devotees were a little disheartened that they couldn't get. And then they kept reaching out to the sculptor saying, please, you know, we really want this deity. So then the sculptor goes to his guru and says, you know, these people are coming and asking me for wanting to create this Nrsimha, and I don't think we should do it. And then Guru's like, are they crazy? Like, they don't know what'll happen if they have Ugra Nrsimha. The standard of worship of Ugra Nrsimha is very heavy. And he was also saying, you're right, you're doing the right thing. Then he's like, who are these people actually? Show me what they want. And then when the sculptor shows his guru the deity that they wanted, the guru actually said that this is not just Ugra Nrsimha, but this is actually Sthana Nrsimha, and this form of Nrsimha doesn't exist in this on earth. This is a very special form of Nrsimha that is very, very rare. And then he asked, who wants this? And then they said, you know, the devotees from ISKCON want this. And then the guru said, you know, for ISKCON, you can go ahead and carve this beautiful form of Nrsimha. So then the sculptor, and he writes a letter saying, you know, I give blessings that you can sculpt this. So then he contacts the sculptor contacts the devotees and says, okay, fine, you know, I'll build this. And then how long will it take? 6 months. Devotees are like really excited. 6 months happen. He goes, the devotees go to South India and they say, where is the deity? And then he says, this deity doesn't just manifest like that. We need to find the right stone. So then they spend some time. It takes 6 months after we find the stone. So they take some time to find the stone. Then after they find the stone, they start carving. Then the devotees say, like, you know, we want Prahlad Maharaj. So then the sculptor says that doesn't work because the dimensions you've given of your deity, if you want to have a regular size Prahlad Maharaj, your deity will have to be 120 feet. So then they went through, can you imagine a 120-foot deity? Like, I cannot, it's just beyond my wildest imagination. But they want, so the sculptor was so particular that the dimensions had to match. So then they agreed to having a 1 foot tall Prahlad Maharaj to match the dimension of Nrsimha. So when you go to Mayapur, you see Prahlad is really tiny. Like, you could almost miss him if you don't pay attention. But that's because the sculptor agreed only to make 1 foot Prahlad Maharaj. After that, the deity finally gets carved, and the devotees get a call one day from the sculptor saying, can you please come and take your deity away immediately? Like, what happens? Like, your deity is burning things. Then they find out that there was rains all over the place, but only in the hut where Nrsimha was being built, there was fire. Everything around that got burned, but the deity stayed just fine. So this devotee is like, this deity is very, please take him right away. So then they bring the deity from southern India. There's a whole wonderful pastime of how they bring the deity because he's very heavy, Nrsimha, and they finally do the installation ceremony in 1986. And these deities have been worshipped at this temple from 1986. If you see Nrsimha in Mayapur, he has bent knees and his eyes are red and there's like so much of anger in that form of Nrsimha, but he's so beautiful. The Nrsimha in Mayapur is absolutely stunning. So again, devotees, once COVID is done, you know where your first destination has to, well, I gave you many destinations today to pick from, but we know Mayapur definitely should fall on the list to get blessings from Nrsimha. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Nrsimha didn't just stay within it. We started talking about southern India, then we went to other parts of India, and then we talked about Mayapur and Navadvip specifically. But by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Nrsimha is all around the world today. Almost every temple has small deities of Nrsimha, but some of the prominent big deities of Nrsimha, you see it in New Vrindavan, beautiful, beautiful deities in New Vrindavan. And in Germany, in the middle of nowhere, they have a farm called Nrsimha, where they do very, very elaborate worship and very traditional worship of Nrsimha in this farm community. Here in Nrsimha. When we talk about Nrsimha, the impression that most people have is this idea of someone who's very angry. Like Nrsimha is always viewed in his Ugra Nrsimha form, this form that came to kill Hiranyakashipu, this form who was so angry. But one part of Nrsimha that we don't talk about enough, or we don't think about enough sometimes, is how personal Nrsimha is. Nrsimha, he's very personal. He appeared because he wanted to make sure that what his devotee was speaking, Satyam Vedatam, like what his devotee was speaking from his mouth, to make sure that the words from his devotee's mouth were pure. He appeared to prove the purity of the words of that devotee child of his. So that shows how personal he is. In our traditional form of Bhakti Yoga, that's one aspect of the Lord that makes it even more special. Krishna is personal. He's there for us, and he's there for us as much as we want him to be there. Many times devotees have this tendency, we feel like, oh, I'm doing so much of service. Why is Krishna not coming to protect him? Why is Krishna not coming out of, my closet here, just as the way he came out of Prahlad Maharaj? But we forget how much of devotion Prahlad Maharaj had. The onus is on Prahlad Maharaj. Actually, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nrsimha is almost like a secondary character. Majority of Srimad Bhagavatam focuses on Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj's devotion. So if we want to capture the mercy of Nrsimha in our life, we have to first emulate the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. We have to first become devoted, and then Nrsimha will come. Krishna guarantees that in so many places. In the Bhagavad Gita, multiple times he guarantees that I will be there for you. Surrender unto me without fear, and I will be there for you. Nrsimha is very, very personal. There is beautiful stories, and maybe we'll just go for like 5 more minutes before we wrap up. The beautiful, beautiful stories of how personal Nrsimha is with his devotees. And there are many, many, many stories in the last 15, 20 years that have been captured by Pankajangvi Prabhu and published in a small ebook that shares pastimes of Nrsimha. There are stories of people who were diagnosed with cancer, with some major diseases, and they went to Nrsimha in Mayapur and prayed to the Nrsimha in Mayapur. And then when they go to the doctor's office, the doctor is like, we can't see your cancer. Or, nothing is wrong with you, you're healed. There are pastimes. There is a really nice pastime that I read from that book when there was a young brahmachari. His parents had come to Mayapur to take him back home to finish off his college or end of his high school, and he didn't want to go. So that day night, in the father's dream, Nrsimha appeared. And Nrsimha appeared, and he told the father, don't worry. He started like rubbing the father's hands, and he said, don't worry, I will take care of your son. You've given your son to me, I will take care of him. And then the father woke up, like, couldn't believe that Nrsimha came in his dream. Pankajangvi Prabhu has multiple times said that Nrsimha reciprocates instantly. Like if you desire something and Nrsimha knows that you're desiring it, it gets reciprocated immediately. It's a really nice story of a family that had gone to Nrsimha was in Maipur, and they wanted some prasadam, but they couldn't get prasadam at the time. And they were thinking, oh, we won't get prasadam today. And suddenly a Mataji appeared with a clay pot with like, here, this is prasadam from Nrsimhadev. And it happened immediately. And then that family was so inspired. Like, we just thought we wanted prasadam, and here prasadam manifested. That same family gave like a locket for Nrsimhadev, but they had not seen the deity wear the locket. So when they came to have darshan, the Mataji prayed, it would be so nice if Nrsimhadev wears my locket. And, lo and behold, the next day, locket was on Nrsimhadev. And she hadn't shared this with anybody. So there's so many pastimes like this of how Nrsimhadev reciprocates. But Nrsimhadev reciprocates when we are devoted to him. So that's on us. That's our choice here. So from this story of from this Nrsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj's stories, one of the things that really stands out is how we have to grow in our Krishna consciousness. And it is a wonderful catch-22 situation to be in, because in order to get Krishna's mercy, we have to grow in our Krishna consciousness. And in order to grow in our Krishna consciousness, we need Krishna's mercy. So it's this beautiful cycle that we're in. And it's a cycle that, unlike the cycle of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, this is a cycle we want to be in. We want to be in the cycle of getting Krishna's mercy, to chant more, and we chant more, so we get more Krishna's mercy, and we go back and forth. So today on Nrsimhadev, I pray sincerely to Nrsimhadev to continue to bless us, to be able to serve him. We pray to Prahlad Maharaj that we can imbibe his mood of humility, compassion, not just in his spiritual life, but caring for the whole world. Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki jai. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mahasundari Mataji, for that wonderful class, taking us on a tour of all the temples in India and all around the world. We are inspired to go to all these places now. Thank you very much. And also telling us how we can attract the mercy of Lord Nrsimhadev. Thank you very much again for this wonderful class. Next, we are going to do Aarati. Ramaji Prabhu and family, are you ready for the Aarati?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
1 second, it's echoing here.
We are hearing a little bit of an echo.
Hold on, let me check. What about now?
No, it's okay, Prabhu.
Let's see. Did you, Prabhuji, wanted me to speak about the past, how the deity came around before we...
Yes, Prabhuji. You can spend a couple of minutes explaining the glories of this deity. That will be great.
Yeah, I think it would be nice for everybody to meditate upon. So real quickly, 7-8 years ago, His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj had gone to Udupi to stay there for 3 months. And there is a place near Udupi, actually that's where he was staying, called Khunnapur, okay, 35 kilometers before Udupi. Now, while Maharaj was staying there, some of the other senior devotees like Baraharidas Prabhu, Shri Prahlad Prabhu, and many other Prabhupada disciples actually visited him there. So, and also my dear god brother Narottam Prabhu, who actually sent this Lakshmi Nrsimha deity for me last year when I was sick, belongs to that region in South India. He's actually from a village called Kharwa. So, in this village Kharwa is about 135 kilometers from Khunnapur, right? So when Indradumna Maharaj was staying there in Khunnapur, Narottam Prabhu would often visit his village Kharwa. So since it was in close proximity of only about 135 kilometers, he would come often and go and visit, Srila Gurudev over there. So again, so now 35 kilometers from Kharwa is another place called Gokarna. And the presiding deity of this place, Gokarna, is of Lord Shiva. So you see, there is another Lord Shiva connection in my life, which I had not known until after this deity arrived, right? So then many devotees, actually, many ISKCON devotees also visit this place, Gokarna, between Kartik and Gaur Purnima. I've heard that the place is really nice, the climate is really good, it's by the ocean side. So many devotees actually go and stay there for a long time, for weeks at end, right? So Narottam Prabhu had been visiting this place since his childhood, right? Because he's originally from there. So he knows a lot of families over there. So one of the main Sevaites in this place, in Gokarna, is a family which belongs to Shankaracharya Sampradaya. they're also one of the main Sevaites at the Pashupatinath temple. So every year, you know, this family would go to Pashupatinath and do seva and then come back, and the other members of the family go. And so it's like, you know, so they rotate it like that. So one of the pujaris is Nagaraj Bhatt. So if you actually Google Nagaraj Bhatt in Gokarna, you'll find him. His family very famous, the, you know, pujaris of this temple. So Narottam Prabhu had been going there for a long time, and he knew personally Nagaraj Bhatt and some of these other pujaris, right? And they have, you know, few hundred shaligrams there, and then few Nrsimha deities. So, you know, they actually, there's also another pastime, and I'll shorten this because of the time constraint. But, you know, when Srila Gurudev was staying there in Khunnapur, they would visit a temple there, which was managed by the pujaris from Madhvacharya's Sampradaya. So they had many shaligrams on the altar there. So they actually went there and asked if they would let them worship one of the shaligrams. So the pujari, she actually gave, the wife of the pujari actually gave one of the shaligrams to Indradumna Maharaj. You know, it's a beautiful story there. But anyway, so Narottam Prabhu would go and visit this priest back in Gokarna, right? Every now and then he would ask me, you know, please give me one of your worshipable deities which you have worshipped for a very long time. But he would not give him, right? So he said during this trip, one morning, early morning, he decided to go and again ask to get, you know, see if he would get either a shaligram or a Nrsimha deity. So he went there, and this pujari was actually doing the abhishek of this particular deity. So Narottam Prabhu again asked him, but this time around, for some reason or another, this pujari Nagaraj Bhatt actually handed him over this Lakshmi Nrsimha deity. So, you know, one time, so Narottam Prabhu was telling me that, you know, Indradumna Maharaj always tells that if you have to give a gift to somebody, it has to be your very, very best, right? It cannot be the second best. It has to be the very, very best. So when last year I was sharing with him my desire to worship Nrsimha Dev, so then he sent me this deity of Lakshmi Nrsimha because he told me that this is my very best deity. So, you know, so that's how this deity comes. He estimates that this deity is about 200 years old. And also, you know, the presiding deity of the Gokarna temple is actually Shiva Lingam. And there's a beautiful story behind that also, right? When Ravana was you know, he went to Lord Shiva, he got the lingam from Lord Shiva, and he was going back to Lanka. On the way, Lord Ganesha actually tricks him, and he tricks him into putting the lingam down, right? And when he realizes that Ganesha tricked him to leave the lingam here, he gets really, really upset. So he picks up the lingam, he throws the lingam up in the air, Ravana does, right? And then it actually lands as 8 different lingams down. And I think I've heard that most of them are in Karnataka area only. And so this particular lingam at the Gokarna temple, the Shiva Lingam, is one of those 8 pieces of the Shiva Lingam that Ravana got from Lord Shiva. So anyway, I'll stop here. Hopefully, you know, gives a you know, brief background on the importance of this deity in my life. In fact, this deity is very powerful. Mahasundari Mataji was beautifully narrating some of the pastimes of Lord Nrsimha Dev in Mayapur and how the deity is so powerful. This deity, some of you have known, who have heard from me. This deity actually saved my life last year in the hospital when something went wrong. For one reason or another, he was there with me by my bedside, and he saved my life. Also, just a testament of how powerful the Nrsimha Dev is in Mayapur, and he hears your desires and he instantly fulfills them. You know, a devotee had told me to go to Mayapur if I get better last year. And my first stop in India was Mayapur. And on the way, when Haridas Sore Prabhu's brother was kindly taking me to the temple, and he said, we will see if we can somehow get either Jananivas Prabhu or Pankajangri Prabhu to do a special arti for you for the Nrsimha Dev while you're there. And I was supposed to be there only for 2 hours. Imagine that, like 2 hours. And on the way, just about 150 meters away from the main entrance door of the temple, we run into Jananivas Prabhu. Okay. And we ask him, and he looks at his watch, and this is like not planned, right? He's coming from other direction, we're going from another direction, and if we would have been there 10 seconds early and 10 seconds later, we would have missed each other, because we were on in a scooter that Haridas Surya Prabhu's brother was driving, or the scooter or motorcycle, I can't remember, one of the two. But 10 seconds here and there, we would have missed each other, right? So we run into him. He requests him. He says, yes, meet me in 1 hour there, right? And that was my desire. Like somehow this desire becomes fulfilled, right? When I'm going there, and we happened to go there an hour later, and Prabhu did an elaborate 45-minute Tulsi Aarti of Lord Nrsimhadev in Mayapur for me. So, but anyway, so I wanted to share that. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak the glories of Nrsimhadev briefly.
Thank you, Ramajay Prabhu, for sharing that beautiful story and also your personal story, showing us the power and the potency of Nrsimhadev deities. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. With that, Prabhuji, like whenever you're ready, we can start the Aarati program. Thank you.